Hey guys, welcome back. Patrick here. Well, you know saying, right? Live by the SPAC, die by the SPAC. Today's been pretty brutal in the market, same for yesterday and Monday, and right now I'm sure that you're like me and you've lost a decent amount in the past 3 days. So the question is today, what can we do about it? Like, am I worried about this? So I'll tell you guys my strategy for dealing with this, right? It's not the first time. I mean, I've been investing for 12 years now in various different things, including the stock market. So it's not the first crash. So I'm going to tell you what I'm doing right now and the stocks I bought today. So let's get started now. But of course, please like and subscribe. It really helps out. Thank you. Alright guys, let's get started with the basics. What the heck is going on with the market right now? And more importantly, why is it affecting the SPACs like it is right now? Like, the SPACs literally are crashing. Well, if you look at my spreadsheet, which you'll see a lot of tickers are missing, even some of the newer ones. I'm actually reworking on the spreadsheet. I'm trying to make it accessible for you guys, so give me a little break on this one, right? If you look at the warrants especially, we're talking about all of them being down a lot today, not just a small dip of 1 or 2%. We're talking about minus 3.69% all the way down to minus 18.29% for PCPL, which is a position that I actually opened earlier this week on Monday, and I had to close it at a loss, right, before it dropped 18%. So this is what we're dealing with right now. And it's not just like one or two specific, more speculative SPACs. It's across the board, right? I'm showing you here PCPL, but same for Lion Electric. The warrant's down 15% today. We have SoFi down 12%. And then we have Proterra, where the warrants are down 11%. So it's literally across the board, whether it's a great SPAC, whether it's a more like fringe SPAC, doesn't matter. They're all hit right now. So what is going on? Well, you're going to find a lot of different explanations, but obviously the main one is the short squeeze from Wall Street bets on a few different companies like GameStop. Then there's also Nokia, AMC. Those are some of the main ones that they're focusing on. Well, this creates a domino effect, right? So these guys are making amazing money right now. I mean, it's really cool to see. I love it, especially this guy. Like, he's one of the leaders of this movement there, where he's made about $33 million so far. That is amazing, and I support that entirely. Today, when I was watching CNBC, like, the commentators there were absolutely losing their mind, and you really have to see the interview with Chamath that really demonstrated how hypocritical they are. Like, when the Wall Street funds are making money, then the system is great. When now, like, small retail investors on Wall Street bets found a flaw in the system and are exploiting it, now all of a sudden they want to halt the stock and not have it traded for 30 days, like all sorts of things like that. They want to change the rules of the game. So I don't think that's fair. I strongly encourage you guys to watch the interview that Chamath gave to CNBC today. I'll put a link in the description so you guys can see it. I mean, it's something that you have to see. But if we get back to this video, right, like, the GameStop share price has gone from low 40s last week, and now it is at $316 after hours. So you have a company like GameStop that is shorted 140% of its float. The float is the number of shares in circulation. So let's say that the company has 10 million shares, right? And all of a sudden, there's 14 million shares that are shorted, meaning you sell them ahead of time, and in the future, if the share price goes down, you buy them back for cheaper, right? So how is it possible for there to be 14 million shares shorted? Well, what happens is you have these big institutions that are borrowing shares to sell short, right? But now, instead of selling them themselves, they actually lend them to another company that wants to short, who then lends it to another company. So all of a sudden, you have 3 or 4 or more institutions that are playing with the same shares. Now, what happens is, once you have retail investors from Wall Street bets that all of a sudden say, hey, we're not going to be selling our shares, like, you're not getting them from us. Well, these guys that have sold already, now they have to buy their position back. Let's say that they sold at $40, right, because they think that the stock was going to go to $10. Well, all of a sudden, the share price yesterday was at, let's say, $131 or $144, so 4 times higher than what they collected. They need to get money somewhere to pay for those shares that they're going to buy back, which are now much rarer. So what's going to happen is they have to sell other assets, like anything that they can get their hands on. They're going to sell stocks. they're going to sell SPACs, they're going to sell gold and silver. Literally anything that they can get access to, they're going to have to sell to cover their position. Because all of these guys, they deal with the same issues that we do. Let's say that you get some margin, right? And your shares are starting to drop. All of a sudden, your broker is going to say, hey, Johnny, you need to get more money, otherwise we're going to liquidate your position. So what you do, you try to sell other stuff to get enough money so you don't have a margin call. These guys are dealing with the same thing. So now that the share price is at 316, it's getting more and more urgent for them to get money, liquidity, to be able to cover their position. So that's why it's pulling everything down, including the SPACs. I mean, it is really sad because what the guys on Wall Street Bets are doing is really cool, right? And they're making a lot of money with it. But at the same time, for other investors, it's really pulling us down. So that doesn't mean that the market's doing poorly. In fact, yes, we know that there's the pandemic and that's hurting a lot of people. But in general, if we look at the actual companies, especially in the S&P 500, they are doing phenomenal right now. Apple just recorded $100 billion in revenue for the first time. They just announced their earnings. Right? You have Microsoft this week, earnings review, flawless, a top pick for 2021. They report amazing growth for their services. And then you have JP Morgan beat profit estimates on better than expected credit, record trading revenue. Look at it, fourth quarter earnings per share of 3.79 beat the Refinitiv estimate of 262. So as a whole, these companies are doing great. So it's just the market right now is kind of in a weird dynamic where you have either people that have to sell assets to try to cover their position, or you have a lot of people like us that are kind of caught in the middle and are trying to take some of their profits, sell as high as we can to kind of get out of the way and keep money on the sidelines until the storm passes. All right, so now we understand a little bit better what's going on. Let me tell you why I'm not as worried as I was in October. So October, for those that are newer in the SPAC world, was the dark days for SPACs. I mean, literally all of the SPACs were crashing, even the really good ones that I liked a lot. Like my top three, you guys maybe remember GMHI was one of the companies I really liked. This is Luminar, Laser, now as they are known, right? Well, I opened a position at about $12.50 and it just dropped and dropped and dropped up to $10. They were stuck at 10 and just would not go anywhere, all the way to mid-November. Same for another company, TRNE, which became Desktop Metal, DM. This company, once again, I opened a position, right? And then it just kept dropping and dropping and being stuck at $10. So a lot of these, it felt like they were maybe even going to go under $10 after the merger. This was the first time we had a big bear market for SPACs, and we didn't really know what was going to happen. Well, now we learned a lot from those lessons, right? So after the election, it just takes a couple good days. It just takes a nice, good merger, run up from one of these SPACs. All of a sudden, they're going to get momentum back. And as you guys can see from TRNE, right? Look at how it went from literally low 10s, and it merged at 24.77, and after the merger a couple months later it's at 23.38. Same for Luminar Laser, now it's at 35.24, and as I showed you, literally 2 months ago they were at $10 and it didn't look like they were going to get anywhere. So what's the big difference between now and then? What did we learn? Well, not only did I learn that momentum shifts very rapidly, right? Last week, it felt like we needed to put all of our money into the SPACs. This week, we have to pump the brakes a little bit. But the other thing that I noticed is that these companies were all pre-revenue, very speculative, right? They were my top three. I like them a lot. I think they have a lot of promise in the future, but you can't really depend on them. We can't really know for sure that they're going to be successful. Well, this batch of SPACs that we have right now is completely different. We have more established companies that are just starting to ramp up. Yeah, sure, absolutely. But still, they have a presence in the market. They already have products and they already have sales and revenues. Companies like Proterra, and I bought this today. I'm starting to like accumulate my position. We were complaining that we couldn't open positions because Proterra went from $12 to $25 instantly. Like if you blinked, you missed it. Now's your opportunity to actually bring your cost down and add shares or warrants. Same for IPOE SoFi, right? This is one of the companies that I think is going to transcend the SPAC world. So often you have these companies like PCPL, it's a great example of this. Sorry, my mouse doesn't work very well on the laptop. So E2 Open, this company, after it comes out of the SPAC world and into the stock exchange, no one's going to really care about this company. It doesn't have anything like really special. The reason we were investing in it is because we were desperate, right? But it's very different for companies like SoFi, Proterra, then you have Lion Electric, where is it? NGA, Lion Electric, another company that I bought warrants today. All these companies are not just run-of-the-mill companies. They are what I would consider like special blockbusters. Not necessarily to the level of Facebook or, big companies like Tesla, right? It's not necessarily the next Tesla, Lion Electric, or Proterra, but they are companies that are going to stand out in the general market. And that's why I'm not nearly as concerned as I was in October, because I do believe in these companies. They might drop in the short term, but what are the odds that a company like SoFi, which I hope I didn't break the spreadsheet, but what are the odds that a company like SoFi that everyone knows is going to be a great company, right? Right now it's at $18, it's dropping. The warrants are at $6.42, they're dropping. Well, if you project yourself a year from now, 2 years from now, do you think the shares are going to be under 18? Like, do you think that the warrants are going to be under $6? The odds are extremely, extremely low. And that's why I'm not nearly as concerned as I was before. So usually what I do when the market's turning and like when things are going wrong, I just sit back, I wait, I sell the positions like PCPL that I feel are at risk. I wait until like the storm passes, then I open a position. But here with companies like these, where I feel so confident about them, that they're special, I don't have any problems in buying a little bit more of them. That's what I did today, right? So the 4 that I bought today or added more to my positions were Proterra, IPOE SoFi, NGA Lion Electric, and Lightning eMotors. All of the companies that I tell you guys about, right, that I'm telling you that are the top 3 or top 5 that I'm investing in, that's what I did today. I went to like the best companies that I know are going to do well long term, that are kind of safer bets, and I'm transferring the more risky play money into those more better, like top of the top, best of the best companies. So that's my strategy that I'm doing right now. I have a check of about 40,000 from a lawsuit that's coming probably next week. If the market's down, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to like just add more of those better SPACs. This is the opportunity to actually add to your position. So we've been complaining that they were too high. Now they're dropping. Now's the time to actually buy. So guys, let me know what you end up doing. I hope you're not too panicky about the market. As I mentioned, it seems very different from October. The storm is going to pass and the SPACs are going to rebound. So let me know what you think. I'll see you guys next time.